All right, welcome back, guys. This is day 3 of Advent of Code. This one was hard. So I'm going to go ahead and switch straight to screen because this might take me a second to explain. So first off, I made a template folder. That template folder is going to make it a little bit easier for me to kind of quickly just hop straight to, all of the solutions. So the template folder is literally exactly how it sounds. It's got a main function that runs solve1 and solve2, which are in the module solutions. So solve 1 is going to be the solution to part 1 of the Advent of Code. Solve 2 is going to be the solution for part 2 of Advent of Code. Both of them are going to import input and split it by line because I'm pretty sure every day is going to be pretty much the same on that front. So that's in the template directory, nothing just super crazy there. It also has an input.txt and a prompt.txt already created. So let's hop into day 3. So we've got main, all it does is call solve1 and solve2, and in our solutions, we've got mod.rs. Okay, so let's read over the prompt real quick. Prompt is a little messy. I didn't get part 2 for the prompt. That's weird. Okay, I'll go to the site real quick. That's not what I was looking for. Let's go here. Got my analytics open, and let's go to adventofcode.com, pop this out real quick, and hop on over to day 3. Okay, day 3. One elf has the important job of loading all of the rucksacks with supplies. All right, let me sum all of this up. Basically, you've got rucksacks. Each line is an individual rucksack. So let's take their kind of example right here. So you've got this line, this line, this line, and this line are all individual rucksacks. Each rucksack is divided into 2 compartments. The rucksack is the line, the compartment 1 is the first half of the line, compartment 2 is the second half of the line. Okay, so you've got it divided up. So each letter within that compartment or within that line corresponds to an item, which has a score based off of what letter it is. Each compartment can only have one of each item. Or each rucksack, can have one of each item in each compartment, right? So if compartment 1 has a lowercase a in it and compartment 2 has a lowercase a in it, then those two are repeated. They're not supposed to be. So you have to extract the repeated items and sum up their score. So the first rucksack contains the items blah, 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 which means the first compartment contains that, while the second compartment contains that. The only item type that appears in both compartments is lowercase p, which gets a score of 0 through 26, so P is the 16th letter there. Uppercase letters are 27 through 52, I believe. Yeah, 27 through 52. So that's how you get your score. So I'll pop over here real quick and show the scoring function, because that was fairly complicated to figure out. So this cardinum is our scoring function. And what it does is it converts the input character. So it takes in a character and it converts it to a U32, which is just an integer type. And then it subtracts a certain offset from it. So basically lowercase a in the, when it's converted to an integer is 96 or 97 actually. So if you subtract 96 from 97, you get 1, which is the letter that, or which is the score that we want associated with lowercase a. If you've got an uppercase, you've got 64 minus 26. Well, I'll just leave that in. I had to do some funky math trying to figure out the uppercase. I don't know why it was kind of weird, but these are basically offset. So uppercase A is whatever 64 plus 26 is plus 1. So 65 plus 26. Let me pull that up. 64 minus 26 is 38. So we want uppercase A equal to 27. So 27 plus 38 is 65. So uppercase A was 65. We want it converted down to 27, so we take the offset 38. So basically all this really is conversion over to integers and then subtracting certain offsets based on whether or not it's uppercase or lowercase. There's probably a better way to do this, but I know that this is a better way than basically doing it through strings and converting the alphabet over. There's a bunch of different funky ways we could have done it, because I almost started doing them that way. So part one, read everything in. We've got a sum right here, and we iterate over every single line. So we're going to go ahead and trim the line because a lot of the lines contains new line characters at the very end. We didn't want that. And we take the half. So basically this is just saying at what index are we going to divide this line in half. So the first, so then we break it up by characters. So that's basically a split with no so in Python you would do something like line equals line cars equals line dot split. It doesn't look like Rust lets you do that with their split function. So they've got a built-in cars function that basically takes a string, converts it to a vector of characters, and then we have to call collect on it in order to create the vector. Because I believe this creates an iterator. Yeah. So in order to turn an iterator into a vector, you use .collect. Okay, so we're going to create compartment 1 and compartment 2 that are slices of that vector. So 0 to the half line is compartment 1, and from the half line until the end is compartment 2. Now here is the part that took me forever to figure out, filtering. So filtering will basically take an anonymous function. In Python, they're called lambdas. I believe they're similar to Rust closures, which is something that's taken from functional programming. So the filter function is going to take a closure, and it's going to iterate over each individual character within that vector. And it's only going to return that character if it satisfies this, basically this Boolean right here. So basically what we're doing is we're iterating over each letter in compartment 1, and we're only returning the letters that are also in compartment 2. And then we're collecting those within its own vector. Now, according to the prompt, there should only be one repeated letter in here. That said, even if there are more, this will only return the first one, which should be the only one within that vector. So we are going to add the score for that number, and we're going to get the sum. So if we go back to main and we get rid of solve2, we can run this real quick. Let's see, cd day 3, cargo run, and we will get some 7908, and we can go back here, and I've already solved it. Let's see. So that's part 2, 7908, right there. So that was the answer for part 1. Now part 2 gets a little bit more complicated. Part 2 changes it up by basically saying that the elves are traveling in packs of 3, and you have one specific shared item that you're interested in, and that shared item is only going to be present in all 3 of the rucksacks. So basically what you're doing in part 2, let's minimize part 1. Luckily you're using the same exact scoring function, but in part 2 you are breaking up your input into chunks of 3 individual rucksacks, and you are looking for the repeated character that is in all 3 of those rucksacks. Now, if you solve solution 1 the way that I solved solution 1, solution 2 is very, very easy. Basically, all you're really doing is you're iterating over the list in chunks of 3 lines instead of breaking each line into 2 compartments. And you are changing your filter function to check to see if the individual item is in 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to create that vector based off of that, and you're going to add the sum up. So if we run this, we get 2838, which is right here. So I'll kind of briefly go over the prompt again. Elves come to you with another issue. The elves are divided up into groups of 3. Every elf carries a badge that identifies the group for efficiency. Each group is 3 elves. The badge is the only type. Basically, it's saying that you have to find their ID badges within those their rucksacks for some nondescript reason. So they don't know what type that ID badge is going to be. The ID badge type, or the letter that corresponds to that ID badge, is going to be different for each group. But The only item type that is going to repeat across 3 bags is the badge. So you basically just have to find the one that repeats across all 3 bags. So that's what we did here. Basically, you are iterating over each group of 3 lines within the input. So this right here is the index that's changing that window, and you're going to check which item is repeated across all 3 bags. So what did I learn from today's advent of code? 1, filters. Super useful thing. Filtering over arrays to kind of take, or I keep saying arrays, they're vectors. Filtering over vectors in order to find, certain items that satisfy certain conditions. Like this very easily could have been a much more complex condition, but it wasn't. So, that helps kind of teach it a little bit easier. So filters are super useful. I learned a little bit more about vectors and kind of like the types that correspond to vectors, and how to split strings up, which can be useful in LeetCode stuff like this. So hope you learned a little bit from this. Advent of Code has been great for learning Rust. It's helped me a ton, and I think it's probably going to end up helping a lot of other people, because I've seen tons of other people say that they're learning Rust through this. On that note, check out Chris Biscardi's channel. I'm going to link it in my description. He is a beast in Rust programming, and you can learn a lot just by watching his solutions to the Advent of Code challenges. Take it easy. Peace.